So once again, for how we felt about and our featured movie this week, we're going to tell you how we felt about Thor Ragnarok, and a little bit later in the segment, we're also going to talk about some retro movies, and we've got, what else are we talking? You're going to, well, retro movies, and also one thing that came out a little bit earlier in the year, you're going to talk briefly about the second Kingsman movie, because you never got to that. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Logan Noir. So I guess it's not all retro. There's some recent things I want to throw in here too. But the bulk of this segment, of course, is going to be the new superhero movie that was released this last week. It's Thor Ragnarok. And I want to open up by saying that this is going to count as both the how we felt about it and the spoiler cast, basically. Right now, I'm talking a good long time about this, but we're going to do full spoilers on it. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, skip the segment, don't watch this. But unless you just don't care about spoilers, you've already had it spoiled for you. This has been out for a few days, so most of the people that are going to watch this have probably already seen it. But we just decided that a couple of these, and I guess this is going to give some things away really fast, but we decided that A, scheduling is a thing that was going to be kind of tough for us this week, and B, we just didn't think we had quite enough for an entire hour to really delve into this and talk too much about it. We honestly kind of didn't want to have to go see it again. And that's maybe going to surprise some people, because I know a lot of folks are really loving this movie, and nothing against people that really enjoyed it. I understand that. Like this is one of those things where I get it if you really liked it, but I just didn't love it. So
this movie sucks. It's so bad.
Are you going to go that far?
Oh, this movie sucks. It's the worst movie.
Let's try not to be hyperbolic.
I would rather watch it again than Dark World.
Yeah.
But only because Dark World is boring.
But you know what's funny? You said after we saw it that you thought there were things that were boring about it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no, there's absolutely things about this movie that are boring. But like I want to say,
you can't say it's not more entertaining than Dark World.
It's more entertaining than Dark World, but Dark World's a better story.
Yeah.
It's also
sad.
Better character piece.
Yeah.
Dark World is, I think, actually in every way, on a critical level, a better film than this. This is either the worst movie Marvel's ever made, or it's the second worst. It is the most offensive movie Marvel's ever made, to me personally.
Yeah, I feel that way about it too. So let's back off a little bit,
okay,
and talk about the lens in which we're watching this through, because again, I get people that are saying, like just enjoy it for what it is. That you're like, hear me out. You're not supposed to take it seriously. It's just a goofy romp. The problem is a lot of the things it's doing story-wise and character-wise, and like the big place we get to at the end, it clearly was not conceptualized as that kind of movie.
No, and don't tell me that when this movie tries to make me feel things.
It does. Yeah, it absolutely does that. It simply cannot find the comedic and dramatic tonal balance, while it's feeling like it must lean into the Guardians model and the Guardians tone, because we've had a couple Thor movies that people didn't love, and it's still really trepidatious about that mythology and the kind of film that would be if you played it straight. And so it's like, okay, well, people are loving this Guardians model, let's just steer way into that.
But Guardians is a comedy, this is a farce.
Yeah. There's a difference.
It would be the way this film deals with like emotionality and like impact and scenes would be like if in the middle or randomly throughout Anchorman there were scenes where you're supposed to care.
Yeah.
Or Naked Gun or something like it is a complete farce that can be not taken seriously on any level, except for there are scenes where they want you to care about these characters and think they're doing anything. I couldn't deal with this.
Now, like I said, looking at this through the lens I'm looking at it through, because it would be disingenuous to say, I mean, I want to think that I am taking this movie on its own terms in saying that it's uneven and it doesn't fully give me those terms. It doesn't play fair to some degree, right? But at the same time, it would be disingenuous not to say that I am biased in that I know some of this material, and I'm frustrated and I'm disappointed about some of the stuff that some of the characters that are thrown under the bus and the mythology that's watered down and that is turned into a cartoon. And I'd like to start off by breaking some of that stuff down, because
I'd also like to say I've not read the Simonson stuff,
and you still had some of that,
and I still had some of that.
Yeah.
I not having read Simonson, I was like, oh, this is X-Men 3. Like, I assume this is X-Men 3 to the Dark Phoenix saga, as this is to Simonson's
major
Ragnarok.
things in that canon and shoving them all together, but not
and not representing any of those characters in any way.
Yeah. So let's start with the Warriors 3, because that's one thing that a lot of folks that really enjoyed this movie, I'm still hearing say, but why did they do that? So it turns out that the Warriors 3 shouldn't have been in this franchise in the first place. At all, because at the end of the day, we not only just have Hela brutally murder them, or some of her minions, I don't even remember now.
No,
or does she do it
she
by her
murders
own hand?
at least 2 of them.
And I'm assuming some other Asgardians died, but it really feels like they're kind of the only people that, well, the only ones that you care about anyway, that we lose. And of course, Sif is nowhere to be found, and we don't really talk about where she is. She's just, unless I'm misremembering that.
Nope, I don't think we even mention her.
Yeah, well, she's mentioned in the play, but she's not mentioned, like, as, a character in the film.
Which is the one thing I really like that place.
Yeah, that was
really
fun.
funny.
That was
really
funny.
funny.
And there's other comedy that I think plays.
Yeah, I'm not saying none of the comedy plays.
Because I want to say, there are elements in this movie that work. It's not a cohesive piece.
When we talked about this, it is one of the weirdest quagmires of, I think this could have been an amazing movie. It is one of the worst executed, like, on paper, this is such a good idea.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's just, they butchered it and botched it at every turn.
With the exception of production value, because it's a beautiful film.
It's a beautiful film. But a lot of the concepts and ideas and themes that they kind of pay lip service to, I was like, oh yeah, if you made that movie, it would have rocked.
That's the key word, yeah, lip service. But anyway, so the Warriors 3 not only get brutally murdered on screen, kind of unceremoniously. I mean, they slow the footage down, so I guess that makes it epic. But Thor doesn't have, when he comes back, there's no reaction. There's no discussion about it. He's it's just that token lesson he learns with the Odin vision, where it's like, Asgard is a people and not a place. But what about the people that he cared most about? Like,
how do you have the movie where his 3 best friends all die, his father dies, and his hammer is broken, be the movie where Thor acts like a cartoon character
all the way through? Yeah,
there's not a single moment where he feels any remorse or regret for any of these losses.
No, and
I mean, he whines about the hammer, but that's because he feels powerless.
When he does feel anything, he's just being whiny. It's just, what was me, and how's he even worthy anymore? I guess it doesn't matter. He doesn't have a hammer, so you wouldn't even know if he's worthy anymore.
Hela throws the whole worthy thing out the window. That doesn't matter at all.
When she's able to interact with the hammer.
Yeah, because the only explanation we're given for her being able to do that is that we see in the painting, because we just put paintings over paintings.
By the way, that's getting out of hand in some of these movies. Starts with Man of Steel, and it just all spirals out of control from there, right?
I hope no one ever. I hope this ceiling tile never crashes.
That is really,
and people see my dark history.
Go-to exposition device, and sometimes it works. But there was it worked in Wonder Woman, okay? But
it's so literal here.
It's so, yeah.
We just put it over. It's the dumbest thing. But so anyway,
that was figurative, okay, but it's physically like that.
So we see a picture of her with the hammer, and that's supposed to say to you, the audience,
she can pick it up.
She can pick it up. Okay, here's the problem with that. Thor was wielding it all through the first movie until the enchantment was put on it. That enchantment has not always been on the hammer. This is bad writing. They don't care. There is no explanation for why she can touch the hammer and hold it. It's dumb.
And also, if all they've oversimplified everything about this mythology, but with specifically the hammer, if all it's for is to channel his lightning powers, then it's kind of a moot point whether or not anybody else can pick it up, because what the heck could they do with it? Like, it's kind of pointless. This is you're like, okay, you've got like, I like the idea that this is almost that movie Power Rangers thing. You have to be worthy in order to use your own power. Yeah, okay,
but we didn't do that in the first movie.
But that's not what was
that
going
should have
on
been the
before.
moral lesson. That should have been like the Karate Kid. It wasn't a magic hubcap the whole time.
Yeah,
kind of
it was
of like,
all along.
oh, you didn't actually need to use the hammer. You had to, like, that's fine. I mean, that's not Thor, but that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
We're 3 movies in.
Yeah, if you open with it, but
5 movies in if you count the Avengers.
This is one of my biggest issues with this whole movie is that Thor gets this supposed character arc tacked on suddenly at the end as if he learned it all the way through, and it's 2 things at the same time. This is super lazy, where Odin in that kind of vision tells him both the lesson about how Asgard is the people, and also the power was within you all along. And he learns those 2 things in 5 seconds, and the whole movie is not him going on a journey of discovery where he finds out about all that stuff, and I don't feel anything about him at the end, partly because he's not feeling anything about any of this stuff, and it feels like he's been regressed back to the kind of selfish,
he's the Thor that needs the enchantment put on the hammer.
But what I was going to say, yeah, self-obsessed kid that he is at the beginning, where he gets to the end, and not only, well, I mean, I think he's been regressed a little bit, but he doesn't even want the things he wanted in the first place. He was like, well, I guess I'll lead these people now, okay.
Yeah, the character in this movie has no business leading anyone.
Well, and he has no ambition, he has no motivation, like... He seems like he'd be happy just sitting at home watching the ball game and eating chips, like...
Yeah. He's awful.
I just don't care about him as a person. Now, if you think he's fun as like a sitcom character, okay.
Again, if you're watching this like The Naked Gun, that's fine.
Yeah.
But this movie asks too much of me to be taken like that.
Sell it that way.
No.
Throw that out there. And I have to say that whoever cut that trailer is a genius. Is a super genius, because that is what is selling this movie and making it so much money. Because I mean, like, I fell for that hook, line, and sinker. I wanted to. I was still very concerned that this could end up being the Guardians thing, but I was also afraid I was being too fanboyish in thinking that, because like that's what a lot of people of the detractors looking at that advertising were like, oh, it's just Guardians again. I'm like, well, you don't know that. Like it could be more of like an 80s metal tone, as you kept saying.
Yeah, because I was not one of the detractors. I was like, no, it's gonna be jokes because it's Marvel, but it's gonna be an 80s metal thing, and that is amongst everything, that is my biggest complaint about this movie, because I felt like I was cheated, where we got to those scenes, we played them like we have scenes that are shot like metal covers.
Yeah.
Give me that movie! Don't give me this farce and then randomly throw in action scenes. 2 action scenes. They're cut like that and act like, yeah!
You can have comedy in an epic. You can have comic absurdity in an epic, but the big mistake that was made here is there's no straight man, and we're not playing it. And
Thor should
the
be the straight
in
man.
It aren't playing it straight. So if we're gonna, and I have issues with this, that we basically simplify the realms to being just planets. I really hated that line where Hell is like Odin just didn't go far enough. Like he pretended like there were just 9 realms. He just got lazy and didn't go far enough.
You know what's funny? The exact same line is in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Like, I was waiting for it to be like, a child can count to 9 on his
That's hilarious. Yeah, we only had 9. I that's such a weird coincidence. But you know, we only colonized 9 worlds. We should own the universe. We should go farther. With this, it's they're not realms. They're just planets, and it's actually the Guardians universe, and we're just living in it. And if that's how we're gonna play it, then why not at least have Thor comment on how weird the universe he thought he understood is, and let him be the Age of Ultron or Avengers Thor before he's the Dark World Thor, because he's a little bit well, he's not even the Dark World Thor. He's almost like an exaggerated the comedy scenes in Avengers Thor, right? Because he's kind of just a stick in the mud and boring in Dark World, and this turns him into a cartoon character.
He's an idiot,
and he's kind of dumb, yeah. And everybody's out of character. You know, Odin never had a character really. Yeah. But like everybody's.
Is he the most in character?
I guess.
He just shows up and speaks wisdom that's vague and
wisdom from a guy who apparently used to be a warlord, just murder everybody.
Where is Hela? Because we know for a fact she wasn't in Hell. Why does Odin dying? Why does she come back then?
I don't know why now.
Where was she?
I had a big why now question. Yeah, maybe seeing it a second time that would become clear.
Maybe she was banished or something, but
there might have been a line we missed. And we should mention, we saw this one time. It's possible there are things we missed that would inform some things that we're talking about, but I don't think there's anything we possibly could have missed that suddenly turned this into a cohesive film. That, like, and make that mythology not feel ultra watered down. But anyway, I think it could have been really interesting to do the more serious movie where the curtain is open to somebody like Thor. They see that the universe is goofy.
Yeah,
I mean, I might have loved that.
I probably wouldn't have, but I wouldn't have disliked it the way I do this. I guess if we're still making this movie,
yeah,
if we're still trying to do the giant, like
I'm trying desperately
Viking epic,
to take it on the terms of what they wanted to make, but I'm not fully sure what that was. I don't know if these filmmakers wanted to make a goofy romp, or if at the 11th hour or something they were like, yeah, we can't make this really epic dark movie that we want to make. It's going to sell better if we turn it into Guardians. I think the biggest mistake is releasing it this year. How do you put this out after Guardians 2, which, in my opinion, is more or less pretty successful at blending its comedy with its drama?
Yeah,
more or less, it's successful at that. There are
makes
scenes
it look
where
like a masterpiece.
I think they go too far. But by and large, there were scenes and there were characters that moved you in some way.
Because this is almost entirely the jokes that don't work in Guardians.
Yeah.
I think this movie's insulting because I think this is the utmost laziness. Because it seems like they all got together and said, "Okay, well, we don't know how to make this work, and our lead actor is kind of lazy and doesn't want to act." So
he just wants to do comedies.
What if we just get paid millions of dollars to goof off? What if we just don't try at all and act like idiots?
Part of the reason that I was concerned that was precisely what we would end up with is because I forget where I saw it. It was in the theater, and I don't know if it was one of those, like, before the trailers things or what it was, but did you see the little, like, 2 or 3 minute short film that was him and Ruffalo like goofing off in character, where it was like, here's what we've been doing in between Age of Ultron and this, and it was just a big farce. And I was like, oh, they might be making that movie. And I got the sense that was the emotional place they were in.
I feel like I've been cheated. I feel like everyone's been cheated, that these people made millions of dollars to goof off. And they didn't try. It was too hard to make a real movie.
The glass half full part of me, and this is ignoring the potential consequences in the future. The glass half full part of me says maybe it's not what I wanted and I didn't love it, but people seem to be enjoying it, so I guess that's good for them. You know what I mean? But I don't like the idea that you have to turn your brain off to enjoy a thing like this, because the Guardians movies, at least in some places, make me think a little bit.
They have thematic,
and it's not just
and
theme.
Characters.
It's I care about what happens to these people. They come alive to me in some way, and I didn't have that with this. None of these people felt real to me, and it was. I mean, it jumped the shark really hard. This was the Arrow season 3.
No, this is
of the Marvel films, right?
Shark jump. And
now, I wouldn't be too concerned that this is where we're going moving forward. I would not be too concerned about that. Here's why. Because we're going to all forget about this when Infinity War comes out, I want to think. The Russos are going to come out. This is my prediction. I don't know. Now, when I say this is what will happen, I don't mean this is me reviewing the movie before it's come out. This is my prediction. This is what I think will happen. I believe that Infinity War is going to show these people how it's done. It's gonna show you how you blend the cosmic absurdity stuff with the serious street level stuff, because the Russos are gonna steer into that direction. That's what they're good at, right? So now it could be a train wreck. It could not work. I don't think it will be. I think they know what they're doing. So this was getting the Marvel fan base that ate it up stone cold drunk, and Infinity Wars go sober us up. And after that, and when that makes the money it's going to make, I think, I don't think you're going to see a lot of filmmakers wanting to go back and make this.
I want to believe that this movie is going to be like Dark World. Because when Dark World came out, I don't think anyone hated it.
No, I had arguments with people about it. I was like, I don't think that's a very good movie. They're like, well, I had a great time with it.
I want to believe that in 3-4 years, when people are talking about Marvel villains, Marvel movies, this will, like Dark World, go to the bottom of the list, and everyone's going to make fun of how bad this movie is. And we're all going to be like,
yeah.
You remember when they tried to do Hela, and she was just Rita Repulsa, but with less motivation.
The difference is there's no meme bait in that movie. Like this is going to have some lines that people are gonna repeat, and they're gonna think Jeff Goldblum's great just because he's Jeff Goldblum. And I was not really in love with his character.
This movie made me say something I've never said before in my entire life, which was I was bored by Jeff Goldblum and Carl Urban, who I also love,
which is crazy, and he was right for that role.
He was perfect for that role. Why is not just Carl Urban? Why is
Scourge even there?
Why is he even? He does nothing.
Yeah.
I feel nothing when he dies because they didn't do anything with that character. Except for the after credit scene, I think Jeff Goldblum's legitimately
That's very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this movie will, for some people that thought it was very funny, be better remembered than Dark World. But I think we're gonna get past it as far as like the model of these movies. Now, a lot of people thought Doctor Strange was too jokey, and
I think it went too far in like a couple of
scenes. Yeah,
it's not the entire movie seems incompetently made.
This keeps interrupting itself. Like, anytime I remotely start to think maybe it's possible I could get borderline invested, it goes, wait, no, don't do that. You know, here's another silly joke. I felt that way when we had that bit at the end where everybody's standing around looking really somber, and then suddenly there's got to be a joke.
And it becomes... Okay, so this is...
We didn't do that at the Reaver funeral. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Like, there were places in Guardians we did that. We kept that serious. We didn't do that at the Reaver funeral.
This is the...
And you cared a lot more about Yondu than you did, like, Scourge. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
They built that up. You were supposed to really care about that character. But you know what I mean? Like,
well,
I care more about...
I think you were supposed to care about Scourge, too. These people are just terrible at their jobs.
I care more about Yondu than I did the protagonist of this film.
I think this is the nth degree of the negative effect Joss Whedon has had on screenwriting and filmmaking.
I have the same thought.
It is the... We can take nothing serious. What they've all missed is that it wasn't just that Joss Whedon would take a scene that's traditionally dramatic and go, look how this is kind of dumb. He would also lead you into a scene that you thought was going to be funny and flip it.
Yeah.
I was becoming annoyed by the people next to me, laughing at scenes that they were caught off guard by, because I called them the second the scene started. Every reversal, when everything's a reversal, it stops being a reversal. That final scene when that planet explodes, I counted to it. And that was almost every joke in this entire movie. It's the most predictable formulaic
I hesitate
thing.
saying this because I don't want to insult anybody. Because again, I'm trying to play this with kid gloves because people that I don't have any problem with people that thought this was really funny. There were scenes I laughed at out loud that I thought that were
and there were scenes that
so I get if you were taken in so much by the comedy that you just weren't even thinking about the dramatic elements and it telling you a story. You can enjoy things on different levels, and this is a movie that I would argue, I get why you were offended. I was offended too, being a fan of some of this material. I didn't like that Surtur was a plot device. I didn't like the making the Nine Realms planets thing. I didn't like a lot of things about Hela, which I'd like to talk about here in a second. But I get why, but I mean, like, I think you would agree if I were to say that this is one of those movies that you could totally understand a person saying, I really like this, I don't care if it's good or bad. Yeah,
if that was the reaction. If that was the reaction was like, yeah, it probably doesn't work, but I thought it was really funny. But people aren't having that reaction.
Yeah.
I think this should have been the rallying cry of, no, this is a line too far.
But so what I just said is why I said I hate to. I mean like I hesitate saying this, but I feel like, because I don't want to insult anybody, but I do feel like I have to say this. It does play to me like it kind of has like a subliminal laugh track, where it's telling you a scene is funny, and so you're laughing at it, as opposed to it actually tickling your funny bone, and that feels like really. Like forced and manufactured and kind of ultra corporate in the wrong way. And
it makes me feel like if Happy Days existed today and we got to the Jumping the Shark episode, everyone would think that's when the show gets good.
Yeah.
Like, it would not be that's when the show went too far, because this feels like this is the Marvel Universe jumping the shark.
However, let me say this. I think part of it's because it's this character. The people who were not already Thor fans from the comics and really like that character. I mean, there were a lot of things to like about that character in the first movie, and I was taking it seriously to the degree of thinking, well, we can improve on this material.
Yeah.
After that first movie,
It's an alright first run.
But after the second movie, I feel like a lot of people that like that character, it actually is for the comedic bits in the Avengers films. And I don't think you could have gotten away with this with anybody else. Like, if you made a Captain America movie like this, everybody would have tried foul.
It's because nobody has a take on him, and the audience doesn't have a take on him.
Yeah. I think a lot of the audience that thinks they like, it sounds awful, but I think a lot of the audience that loves this version of the character doesn't like him necessarily for the reasons that I like the Norse mythology character in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me it's really sad because all the stuff that I was waiting for us to eventually get to, we can't do. We just destroyed Asgard. So I'm interested in the status quo at the end of that movie, sort of, but we never really got to flesh out that mythology and deal with some of those interesting politics and interpersonal relationships. I was talking to Dan about this the other day, and he was talking about all the things that they could have been doing with the father-son story with Thor and Odin, but there are all these opportunities. None of it's really there. It's really unfortunate. What does his losing an eye and having an eye patch at the end really mean? There's nothing there, right? Like we're not really contrasting the characters and showing here are the good and bad ways that Thor is just like his father. Like Jason Aaron did. It's not really there.
I wish it could something because this movie's terribly written and everyone making it is bad at their jobs.
I don't think I would have disliked it as much if we kept Asgard around at the end, just because okay, if somebody comes in for a fourth movie, they finally
we can fix this.
We'll
just never do this ever again.
Yeah. This should have been an interlude movie. This should have been he goes off, has a space romp, and he finally goes back to Asgard at the end.
Yeah. With this tone, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I couldn't have quite foul as hard because
it's just him going off into space.
It's a silly romp, and you still could have done the Planet Hulk stuff. You just make a Planet Hulk, but you call it Thor because they can't make that movie.
I mean, I wish you wouldn't have butchered the endearing characters with pathos from Planet Hulk, but sure. I
know, but I mean, I haven't read that. I'm just saying for the sake of the Thor stuff. No, I get that. That's
that
fair.
Rock guy's such a good character that I really care about.
I know, but
they made him 6.
He was funny.
He was funny. Well, in these first 2 scenes, he's funny. Then they beat that joke into the ground.
I'm a rock guy. I'm made of rocks. He was pretty funny.
Yeah, in the first 2 scenes.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was going somewhere with all that.
I'm sorry.
With the Asgard and the because this movie's terribly written, everyone that made it's bad at their job. Everyone that made it is bad at their job. The only explanation we are given for Hela's backstory is one day Odin changed his mind.
The end.
The end.
And I've always talked about how interesting his moral ambiguity could be if you fleshed it out and really dealt with it.
He's still kind of a jerk and a monster in Dark World.
He is.
But how about?
I thought he was in the first one.
How about he does something that he thinks is too far and loses his eye doing that, and that's the reason he stops. And then Thor also does something.
The irony of he loses an eye so he gains his sight, that kind of thing.
Yes, and then do something like that with Thor so he loses his eye, instead of doing nothing, which is what this movie did.
It's weird because, as much as I really missed...
I'm not even sure why writers were credited on this movie. They clearly just got on set and said words.
And I guess I should go ahead and say this now that you said that. This is very much what I imagined the Han Solo movie might have been like if they kept those directors.
Yeah.
And they hadn't, gone to Ron Howard.
Thank God that they didn't do that. That they stopped it before this happened.
I don't know why, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot or throw you under the bus, but I don't know why. Somehow or rather, I'm not able to get as worked up as you about it. I share I agree with everything you're saying for the most part, but you're really upset about it.
I'm really upset because there's a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes and everyone loves it. And this should be everyone should be getting together and going, no, I'm not going to pay millions of dollars for you to do nothing.
Yeah, but what this people are going to come back with is, look, I was entertained, leave me alone.
And that's fine, but
I'm just saying, let's be fair. I get why people were entertained, and then there are people that just go to be entertained. Now,
it feels like these people have never seen a movie.
I can't do the turn my brain off thing.
But everything about this movie that I think anyone could just go watch Guardians. It does it better. Go watch anything written by Joss Whedon. It does it better. this is the worst form of this kind of comedy I've ever seen.
Again, especially because, and I don't want to talk in circles, but you got all these weighty things that I would have loved to have seen actually given some weight. Thor, I don't feel anything when he loses his hammer. I don't feel anything when he loses his eye. He should be brought to his lowest point. And might I say, you had a movie called Dark World, and things happen in this that should have been much darker, but it's so weirdly much lighter and goofier in tone, and there could have been a juxtaposition there that might have worked.
This movie's so poorly written and no thought is put into it that the pitch that like super fanboys gave after Age of Ultron for a Planet Hulk movie was the Quinjet will go off into space. And everyone else said, that's dumb, it's a jet. It can't go into space. The writers of this movie said, great idea. The jet designed to be a jet can travel at light speed?
And wasn't there like a throwaway line about it, like why he was able to do that, or was there just a question like how come we were able to do that?
I think
like,
he just goes into space, maybe hits a wormhole.
There's a mention about it. Did we talk about it? Maybe just making fun of the fact that it doesn't work. Like, but that doesn't make it okay. Like,
just have him be abducted. Like,
yeah,
how hard is that to try at all at your job that you're being paid millions of dollars for?
You made a movie like. Again, if this was just in a silly, fun interlude movie, I could accept that and I could enjoy it. The issue is you have a movie where or here's another example anyway. You have a movie where Bruce Banner is lost to the Hulk for 2 years, and he's a butt of every joke after that.
I am convinced that he has forgotten.
How is there no pathos to the Hulk? That's really sad. Now, I'm not going to agree with you with what you're about to say.
Okay, that's fine.
I think you're taking it too far. I think that's hyperbolic. Go ahead and say it, though.
I'm convinced that he's...
Sorry.
We've talked about this before.
We have had this conversation.
I'm convinced that he's forgotten how to play the Hulk, or he's forgotten how to play Bruce Banner, or everyone working on this movie is bad at their jobs and directed him badly. And he decided that he was going to base his performance on Agent Simmons from the Transformers movies, because that's what he's doing through this entire movie.
When he gets in the right movie with the right directors and the right script, he will magically remember how to play this part again.
No, I think you're right.
I don't think he's forgotten how to play it.
I don't actually think
I think he's with Chris Hemsworth, who wants to make an episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway in character with Thor. That's what I think is going on.
Yeah.
And again, Chris Hemsworth has some amusing deliveries. He does some things that I find funny, but I cannot get latched onto this character that I've seen, by the way, in like 5 films previous now. Like,
and there's
Thor,
like
whatever it is.
And there's things where like there will be a beat or even maybe even part of a scene that I think is funny, but like I'm in such a bad mood by the time I get to it.
Yeah.
I'm not even laughing.
Yeah.
Like I like Hulk sitting on the bed going like sometimes I just get so mad.
But I can't deal with the context of it.
But everything before and after that line of dialogue is the worst thing I've ever seen. Hyperbolic. And so I can't even laugh at it because I'm like, oh, that's kind of amusing. And now we're just doing a terrible scene again.
We should move on here in a second to our quicker films.
Okay. I have one more thing I want to talk about.
But there's a couple things I want to make sure we do. Mm-hmm. First of all, I want to mention the Hela thing because it's so weird. I think Hela is a mix of several characters, and she's not actually Hela.
Yeah, Hela's not one of the characters that she's a mix of.
Not really, except for the look, which is great.
And when she has the look, but again, laziness. We're not going to do that.
Look. I don't know if it's lazy so much as giving that actress face time. I don't know what exactly.
Given the rest of the movie, I'm going to say it's laziness.
No, that's not fair. That's
true because that's movie looks great.
Because the movie looks great. What are you talking about?
Right,
it's not laziness, okay? It's you got to see Cate Blanchett's face. It's
and you know what? I wouldn't even have minded that much if she never did the head thing. Because she looks fine when she doesn't have it. It's that they do it, and I'm like, okay, so just leave it. Nope, you can't do it.
Yeah,
and the mask.
But anyway, but that's a minor thing. I don't even want to complain about that. Okay. What I think is, I'm just saying that Hela's there, and the look when they have the full look is great.
Yeah, it's great.
And I like the mask, and I wish we'd hung on to the mask all the way. But again, it's like we got to see this actress. But whatever. I am convinced that part of what they threw into this character was Marvel Angela, which is bizarre because she is now nowhere to be found, and I don't think anybody knows anything about her. At the time this movie was being made, she was Queen of Hell. and she was, I think, right around the same time. And her like third miniseries, I think, was Angela. I think Queen of Hell, I think was what it was called. I forget. And I've got it. I have more than the first issue. In this, we make Hela Thor's sister, and I'm assuming half sister, but I don't know that for sure. And that is Angela. She's from a mysterious 10th realm we didn't know about. That was the realm of the angels that has been taken off the map. And and again, we made her Queen of Hell at one point. They kind of made her partly Angela. That's so weird that they did that.
And the other character that I see in her is the Serpent from Fear itself, which is interesting, because I'm the only person on the planet that seems to really like that series.
I'm the only person on the planet that seemed to really like
it's like
Marvel
two
Angela.
things that no one else seemed to look at, because the Serpent is Odin's brother, who had like a feud with Odin over who should actually be on the throne, and I think they were very violent together, and Odin was like, this is going too far, we gotta stop this, and was so ashamed of what his brother was and did that he razed all of his churches and removed all mentions of him from all the history books, and I think there's some of that in there too, but it's weird, because these are not acclaimed critically, like, beloved Thor stories.
Yeah, isn't it really weird that in an indirect way you couldn't have this without Neil Gaiman? like, it's so weird. And Spawn. Anyway, but like I said, I just want to reiterate stuff I liked about this movie. It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
And
it's so Kirby, it's so Simonson.
Yeah.
The design is phenomenal.
In fact, Jeffrey Patrone, one of our patrons, I want to read this comment because he asked us about the Kirby thing. And he says, I've heard and seen some folks call Ragnarok very Kirby, and the most Kirby thing I've ever seen. I haven't seen the film yet, but I'm fairly certain the film is not as similar to Kirby's work as those claims state. Am I correct in that assumption?
I think there is a lot of Kirby.
I think it's more Kirby than Guardians is. Like, I do think it has a distinct look. It is still absurd and weird.
Well, it's because I think all of the designs, specifically things like Hela, are just right off the page the Kirby designs. If it's not the Kirby, it is the impact that Kirby left on the cosmic Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it's not literally Kirby, like there's no Kirby dots floating around. Like we it's not exactly Kirby, but it's that.
As much as you can in live action, there is that attention to detail.
It's true. The building that Hulk lives in with the heads, that could have been a Kirby building.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, I think there was a lot of Kirby in this. I think there's a lot of times, even if it's not like literally Kirby, it is the things that Kirby created, and then other people also did things with. Like, it's there.
A lot of the individual plot points, if we were actually taking ourselves seriously enough, because this is a big problem we've got with superhero movies right now, is that we either don't take ourselves seriously at all, or we take ourselves way too freaking seriously. Because I know I make the point much more often. Yay, this thing didn't take itself too seriously. This is this feels like it didn't have a director. It's got that thing. And so anyway, but I liked I like Cate Blanchett's performance. She
would have been great in the Power Rangers movie.
Yep, we keep saying like, oh, she should have been Rita, and that should have been the take on Rita. I mean, if you put this in the Power Ranger movie, if you put what worked in this and what worked in the Power Ranger movie together, you have a great Power Ranger movie. Because they did all the Power Ranger stuff the Power Rangers didn't do. Seriously. Did you see those guards standing in the background at the Grandmaster's place? Like, they look like Power Ranger villains or putties or something.
I don't like Kate. Okay. Cate Blanchett's performance is good for
whatever it is they're making.
Well, for Power Rangers.
Yeah.
It's not the performance of the villain that's going to destroy Asgard and is the most evil and dark thing hidden in Asgardian history.
Yeah, and she's just silly and mustache twirly. Like obviously you can be pure evil, but she's mustache twirly in that sense of just like, I like being evil.
Why is it that the Oscar award-winning actors and actresses, when they come into these movies, they are the ones that do cartoons, and the nobodies are the ones that show up and show you how to act?
It's like the 60s Batman tradition.
Yeah, except sometimes I want these people. I want you to be an actor. Yeah. I want you to be the reason that you were hired because you're an Oscar award-winning actress, and we want you to bring that.
I was trying to talk about things I thought that I kind of liked and I thought worked. And you're continuing the criticism. But anyway, I just want to mention that like at least within whatever it is they were doing, I enjoyed her. And yeah, I thought she was well cast, and I thought that look was great. I mean, a lot of the things I like are superficial, but again, like I wanted to love the movie where Thor loses his hammer and he gets everything taken away from him, and those choices I kind of appreciated. Putting him and Hulk together, I think, was a good idea. I just don't think it's really executed, real well. But I don't know. I guess there's not a lot I loved about this movie. Is the thing. But
you know what's weird?
It's all superficial stuff.
It's weird to me that when it came out and to this day, people say Iron Man 3 is too jokey. And that doesn't take itself seriously enough, given the stakes of the film.
Yeah.
93% Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone loves this movie.
Yeah.
I don't understand this world.
It's because they were invested in Tony Stark in a way they're not.
That's true. You know what? That's fair.
That's what it is. And because they had expectations for that movie, and they knew what they wanted it to be, and I don't think Ragnarok had that.
I mean,
I think people were excited about the trailer once they saw it. I don't think Ragnarok maybe had as... I may be wrong about this. I don't know that Ragnarok had as much of like the build up and lead up of let's try to get every morsel about this movie before we see it. Iron Man 3, there was a lot of talk we might not ever get another one. We're not really hearing that about this. I mean, I don't know if they'll make another Thor movie, but I'm just saying that, like...
I assume this is doing gangbusters.
I don't think Chris Hemsworth... Yeah, but regardless of that, I'm just saying that, like, there hasn't been... that I've heard any talk either way, but Chris Hemsworth isn't talking about leaving, like Robert Downey every time he makes one is like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. So I'm just saying that, like, there were stakes with Iron Man 3 for people, and they were excited about that villain. Nobody knows Helen. Nobody cares about that character.
It's true.
Meanwhile, I was really excited about Surtur. You know what was weird? I don't know if I like this or don't like this. Surtur, unless my mind was playing tricks on me, in a line of dialogue, yells Krakathoum.
I don't know. I didn't catch that.
And I thought that was hilarious. I just about
It's Clancy Brown, and he pronounces lots of words like that, so it might be...
I'm almost positive. But you know about Krakathoum.
Yeah.
Like that's a big Surtur thing. And, like, he I'm pretty sure he says it out loud.
That'd be cool.
I just think that's really funny. Like, I don't know if it's cool or not. It's weird that you'd say it, Where you just, like... that's like... Because that's like a kid playing with action figures, like, making the sound effects, where he's like, Krakathoum! That's really funny.
While I don't need or want every movie to do the Guardians thing, where like we just do like a jukebox playlist, it was really weird that we bought one song for this movie and played it at the beginning and end.
Yeah.
And the only reason we picked that song is because it says Hammer of the Gods in it. I mean, it's a great song. Everybody loves Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, and I think you could have based the entire tone of the movie on it.
It's what I wanted the movie to be. It's what the trailer sold me this movie was going to be.
Just album cover after album cover. You got that more than the Powerpuff Girls movie.
No, this movie should have been metal covers. Like, that's what they sold me, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
The last thing that I don't think we've talked about, that we need to talk about, is Valkyrie.
Okay.
She's awful.
Yeah.
She's unlikable.
I'm indifferent. I mean, like, because nobody's character in this movie, and she's a new character, so, like...
She just... I don't know if it's the actress or the performance, but she seems like she's too good for this movie and doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
She seems bored, she seems out to lunch, and she seems... Again, like, I think it's the character thinks that she's better than everyone, but I'm not sure. She's very arrogant and egotistical, and we also never... She never gets checked on that. She never actually learns a lesson or grows. She has that attitude the entire movie.
This movie's not about that kind of stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the problem with it. Like,
but it pretends. We get the flashback. We're supposed to feel bad for her.
Right.
You can't tell me to turn my brain off.
But I feel like there are actors, and I think Goldblum is like this, and she might be one of them too, that are really confused about what movie they're making. And so I don't know if you could pin that on her necessarily.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I don't know. It could be direction. It could be before. I'm not. I want to say I've seen this actress in something, and she was really good. But
since you mentioned that, just here's a real minor thing. But I have this question, and I haven't brought this up to you. But how is Goldblum paying, the Grandmaster? How is he paying her as a bounty hunter, basically? I mean, maybe it's just he's out to lunch and crazy. You can explain everything away with him with just, like, he's a weirdo. But how is
That's how I explain everything about you to people.
How is
I was
it?
like, I don't know, he's a weirdo.
That's why I can get away with anything because of that. Yeah, it's just like, what are you doing with your fingers? I don't know.
Shooting,
I'm a weirdo.
Shooting like 6 hours of video at once.
Yeah, I'm weird.
Why do you do that? I don't know.
I'm just along for the ride, says Eric. But anyway, so I just put all my friends in the storybooks now. He's like, says Eric. How is it, beyond just he's a weirdo, that the Grandmaster doesn't know what an Asgardian is, but he keeps paying an Asgardian? Like, I wondered about that.
Yeah. I don't
Everybody
know.
else there knows she's an Asgardian.
And the Valkyrie specifically.
I feel like that was just there just for the Asgardian joke. Like,
it's also really weird that
everybody laughed at that. I didn't think that was that funny. It would be Asgardian, okay. And like,
yeah, I've seen that joke done better in Young Avengers. There's a really good joke about that. But it was really weird that when Thor finds out she's a Valkyrie, he acts like it's a recent development, but they seem to have all been dead before Thor was ever born.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
He's like, it's great that we finally have this. But they all fought Hela, which suggests that because she was stricken from the history books, it happened before Thor was born. This movie's really bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for it.
I also did not care for it.
Okay,
surprise.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on to some other movies real briefly that we watched this week. And why don't you, in just a few minutes, tell us a little bit about how you felt about the second Kingsman movie. It's been like a month or two now.
That's true, but
I don't know how well that's still in your brain. But
I'm going to talk a little bit about the production side of things, a little bit to kind of contextualize my feelings on this and why I think it's weird. So I liked Kingsman 2. I don't think it's as good as the first one. The closest comparison I could give for Kingsman 2 is Iron Man 2. That is the movie it most feels like to me. What's interesting is Matthew Vaughn in every interview talks about how he's never made a sequel and he overthought sequels and looked at, okay, these are the good sequels. What makes them good sequels versus the bad sequels? And the thing that he found was good sequels expand the universe and don't just do the same thing. The problem was, first of all, that's not what I was promised.
So you got a little too systematic about it?
Yeah, like a little bit. But in the same way that Iron Man 2 did, where it's just like, it's kind of the first movie, but bigger.
Yeah.
The problem is, that's not what I was promised by the first movie, which was, this was an origin story for a new kind of spy, a new kind of James Bond. And I expected the next movie, because James Bonds aren't movies you think about as sequels, they're just, adventures. I expect the next movie to be, what does an Eggsy adventure look like? Well, in the first 20 minutes, we blow up the Kingsman headquarters, and there's only 2 members left. Like, we immediately go as big as we possibly can. I like the Statesman. I like the idea behind the Statesman.
That sounds like one of those things where it feels like there's a whole TV show in between that
yes,
you wish you'd been watching.
That's exactly what it feels like. If there were Kingsman comes to fill in the in-between, I know there are Kingsman comics, but I mean, in the movie universe, if there are Kingsman comics...
what you'd want to be watching,
if there's a TV show in between something. It got really big, and in some ways, it's weird, we're like there's robot dogs, and that doesn't feel absurd or too big. But for some reason, I was like, really? There's robot dogs? I don't know why in execution, there was just a couple of things where I'm like, I wouldn't have done that. You can do, it's very much a we can do anything kind of a thing. I thought the villain was very good. I thought her plot was really interesting. I think the politics of the movie are fascinating, especially contrasted with the Statesman and what the Statesmen are very Southern people. They run a it's a moonshine plant. It's some kind of alcohol. There's some kind of alcohol refinery, and we have this kind of contrast of the Kingsmen are the perfect English gentleman. These cowboy guys are the perfect American gentlemen, and there's a lot of really interesting things going on with that. I enjoyed the movie. It was good. I will watch it more times. It might even grow on me. but it just wasn't great.
Those are the things that disappointed you about it.
Yeah, it just didn't all work. And there were things I thought were just conceptual mistakes. They brought back Harry, and he said at the very beginning, I will come up with a way to bring back Harry. And we knew that from the trailer, but I didn't think it was necessary to the story.
Really?
They try real hard to justify it, but I didn't think it needed it. I don't know.
This is sort of like that guy in Blade coming back, where you're just like,
yes.
why would you do that?
Yeah, hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully they don't do what Blade does and kill him off in the beginning of the third movie like they did with Whistler. It is kind of like Whistler coming back, although I think Whistler makes more sense of that story than...
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time on it, and we don't actually get to it till like halfway through the movie. At the same time, there's a scene built around someone singing Country Road that like genuinely emotionally got to me.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I liked it. But it's not as good as the first one. It's kind of like it's a lot like Iron Man 2, where it's just like it's the first one, but kind of bigger and like a little bit dumber, but like still enjoyable, but just like not as good. Yeah.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to do a full review of this. You might want to flip your sign on that.
Yeah. I'll go with feeling it, but a real light feeling it.
I'm obviously not going to do a full review of this because we've talked about this at length, but I watched Logan in black and white this week. Watched Logan Noir, and this will relate to another thing we'll be talking about on the Mega Show later when we do The Mist, because that is also in black and white, but was not originally released that way, which was really interesting. So all I really want to talk about with this, because you didn't watch this with me, is just is this the way to watch it? What does it add to it? Should it have been released that way, etc., etc.? This was a really good idea, I thought. I don't think it should have been released that way necessarily. Having said that, I don't think it's necessarily a bad way to show it to people that haven't seen it yet the first time. And I only say that because Brandon watched it with me, and I don't even think I told him we were going to watch it in black and white, and never asked about it. It was almost like he maybe even thought that was how you...
He also seemed to live in a cave and have no idea what this movie was, or like what it was rated.
But it was really fun to watch it with him that way, because he was just emotionally crushed, kind of the way we were when we first saw it, and he thought it was a brilliant masterpiece, because it's a brilliant masterpiece, and it was really fun to watch it with someone that had no idea what they were going into, and did the black and white enhance that for him? It might have, I'm not sure. He said he really liked the look and the aesthetic and the style with it that way. I felt like there were certain scenes that are, I don't know if improved is the right way, but that were kind of stylistically heightened by being in black and white, and almost it just felt really appropriate that way. Specifically, the scene outside the family's house when the clone shows up, and it's just pandemonium. I felt like that was weightier in black and white somehow, and I felt like the whole world felt more heightened that way. In color, and this is probably the biggest selling point for watching the noir version. That's what they're calling it, Logan Noir. It's not a noir. It's just black and white. It's a western before it's a noir. It's a noir western. But I mean, there's a mystery, I guess. But anyway, so there's where was I going?
The scenes that were enhanced or not enhanced by color.
The thing with black and white, the thing with it in color initially, was that I felt like it kind of was almost like not stylistic enough. Like it's set in a messed up future, but it's not like a straight up dystopia. But what I really like about it is that for Logan, it is. And when you have it in black and white, it's almost like that's the lens he's looking at it through. And there's almost not a scene in this movie without Logan there. So when it's in black and white, it kind of feels like we're seeing what the world looks like to him. And when it's in color, it's more like what the world looks like. And so that's kind of the distinction, in my opinion, for me. But I loved watching it that way, and after a while I wasn't even thinking about it, because it's so appropriate that way. So I was really glad that I watched it like that. But yeah, so that's really all I wanted to say about that. But if you haven't done that yet, it is worth springing for the extra disc. So definitely. Why don't you talk a little bit about Scooby-Doo?
We watched.
We went back and watched that again.
We watched Scooby-Doo Zombie Island because Cap owns it, and I saw it and I was like, "Hey, it's like around Halloween time. What if we watch that movie? I'd like to watch that movie." So we watched it. I watched it.
I kind of fell asleep halfway through because I had a long day, and I'm not a big Scooby-Doo guy, man.
I know. But I wanted to watch it.
Oh no, that's cool. And like I didn't fall asleep on purpose. But anyway, I'm not going to say a lot because I didn't watch the whole thing. I have seen it before, but it's been a long time.
I've said before, I think most people agree with this sentiment, and most people have said, or I'm not going to say most, I'm going to say maybe a lot of, most people I've talked to.
Who you've talked to?
All seem to agree that this is the best of the animated Scooby-Doo films. It really set like this was a big deal when it came out. Like when I was a kid, this was a big deal. Part of it was selling it on the monsters. This time the monsters are real, which is dumb because they've been real before.
Yeah.
And no one mentions that. I know I complained about this while we were watching. You're like, who cares about continuity in Scooby-Doo? I'm like, it happened, man.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo doesn't care about its own continuity.
I do.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the monsters have never been real before. You hung out with the Boo Brothers.
I was there. Don't tell me it didn't happen.
Yeah, I saw it happen. Rocky Werewolf is my favorite movie, but that's mostly childhood nostalgia. But I think this is, having rewatched it, I think this totally holds up. I think this is kind of the pinnacle of Scooby-Doo storytelling. I think it's the most complex and mature that we get in a traditional, I mean, this is longer than a normal episode, but just a real quick case. Mystery Incorporated is its own thing because it's an overarching story. It gets to really go in and do different things. But in the traditional,
and it's super self-aware, and it's making fun of that material.
And I love it. But in the traditional Scooby-Doo playing it completely straight, I think this is probably the pinnacle of that. I think it's the only way I think you could do it better is if you did this, but it was somebody in a mask at the end and made it work.
Yeah.
And played it straight.
Yeah.
We watched this on the projector. Now, I remember this movie looking really good, and when it opened, I was like, oh, man.
That hurt it a little
this
bit.
movie looks great. Except, sometimes it doesn't.
It's
and sometimes within the same scene...
It feels like it's made by three houses.
Yep, it feels like...
Maybe it is.
And sometimes in the same scene, you would have, like, Shaggy and Scooby standing here, and they look great. But if you look over at Fred, his face is barely drawn. And so that wasn't great. And sometimes there were whole scenes that didn't look as good as other scenes, and that was really disappointing. But I think it's really fun. I think most people have probably watched it. If you like Scooby-Doo, especially if you're my age, like this was a big deal when it came out.
Yeah, I remember being surprised by it when I first saw it, where I was like, I didn't know that Scooby-Doo could be that close to telling a real story.
And this kicks off the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video line that's still going to today.
It's like DC; they just don't stop.
Yep.
They're probably better.
Probably.
Last thing I wanted to mention, just real briefly, and I do want to start bringing up special features on this show. I would love to make that a segment on the Omnibus. If we ever have a week where we have like a lot of special features to talk about, we might just make that its own thing. But for right now, I'm just going to tack it on the end of this. I watched the AVGN movie again because I'm a weirdo and I like AVGN and James Rolfe. And
you now have a physical copy.
Yeah, thanks for that, by the way. And so anyway, this is because when we talked about this before, I didn't have a copy. We watched it on Amazon.
Yep.
And Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free, but this, of course, has all the bonus content. And so I watched this with commentary, and I just like listening to James Rolfe talk and his passion for indie filmmaking. And he knows a lot about like old monster movies. There's really a lot of stuff that you know a lot about that I've never been a big fan of, and I learn a lot when I listen to him.
You should listen to that commentary.
I think you'd like it. It was really fun listening to all of the pitfalls and difficulties they had with money and with getting locations, and it's one of those commentaries where they point out a whole lot of stuff as you're looking at it, and like how in the world they made something, or like where like what it was originally supposed to be. There were a number of they talk about a lot of like rewrites and like plans for different characters that initially were going to get kidnapped, and then they changed who got kidnapped, and it was just really kind of fun listening to how the whole product ultimately ended up coming together conceptually, because I think this ends up being the best version of the story they're trying to tell, because some of the ideas that they talk about seem like a lot more like kind of random and haphazard, and there wasn't really any reason to do it like this. We're just trying to make this goofy, actually, and originally it wasn't. It sounded like the nerd wasn't even going to have so much of a character arc, and it was going to be a lot more of just kind of a silly like road trip movie. And then they came up with this conspiracy thing, and it all comes together. And I don't know, I relate a lot to James Rolfe, because listening to how this all came together reminded me a lot of kind of how Spawn came together. And so it was just a lot of fun listening to it.
That's cool.
So anyway, yep. So that's gonna be it for us today on how we felt about. Thanks a bunch for watching. I'm feeling that. And,
I'm feeling Scooby-Doo
Eric's
Zombie
feeling
Island.
Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. And anyway, if you're just watching the How We Felt About video, thanks for watching this extra long How We Felt About and the sort of pseudo Thor Ragnarok spoiler cast. That went longer than I expected.
You know what would be really weird is if for like 4 or 5 scenes in the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, if they wanted me to care and like tried to like make me emotionally feel about any of those characters. Wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah, but they do. And it kind of works. Like they do within the context of the forest. That's the thing. Is internal logic. Internal logic.
Internal logic. Do you know when you say internal logic a bunch, it like loses all meaning?
It's like with really everything. I feel that way about contrivance, but I end up having to bring it up so much, you know. Convoluted.